Hello, everyone, and happy New Year. I am back to painting. I've been back for a couple weeks now from my vacation, and I'm actually working on my first dolls of the year. It's a set of Reborn Dominic twins. They are actually, I'm finishing the painting today, and then they're going to be fully rooted, both of them. So that's going to take a little bit longer, but they will be available soon. I'm pretty happy with how they're turning out. I don't know how they're appearing on camera because this is my old phone that I film on because it allows me to pause video and switch the camera and all that. So I still film on that one. But um, I just wanted to show you them. Of course, they both have full limbs that I'm still working on. But yeah, so look out for them to be available. All of my dolls I do post on my Reborn's nursery account, and so they will be available on there. That's where you'll see all of my dolls being listed. So if you're ever curious on what I'm working on and what I have available, usually I'll post work in progresses on Instagram, and then the finished dolls will be likely posted on Reborns as soon as I finish them. Um, I do have a Facebook page as well, but it's not like Unity Reborn Dad. The Facebook page that I post on actually is my Reborning for Beginners group. I can share a link to that as well. But we do allow selling now on that page. So if you are a beginner artist and you want a safe place on Facebook to sell your dolls, um, we're still trying to grow that group right now. I think we have almost, I think like 850 members. So we're still growing that group, but I do allow selling now, and I monitor it very closely. So try to get people not to be scammed on Facebook. So we are very, very strict about who we let into that group. Yeah, so I just wanted to give you all a few updates on what I'm working on before getting into today's topic. Um, yes, it's a controversial topic. Imagine that, me with a controversial topic. And honestly, with me, I feel like I don't mean to be controversial. I have or go against the group. I just think that a lot of times this community doesn't quite consider all the factors involved with situations. So today I'm talking about something that actually happened right before the holidays. Like, all of this came to light right before the holidays. So back in like November, everyone was freaking out about this. And I was just like, really? This is what y'all are concerned with? So that's kind of what this title means. Like, I feel like the Reborn community has gone so far off the damn bridge that they don't even know where the bridge even started. Like, honestly, this whole situation made me realize, like, we've kind of lost the reason why we even paint these dolls, why we collect these dolls. It started off as like a healing thing, a communal thing, connections, a niche hobby that connected people from different walks of life who would have never ever met each other. That's how this community started, for the love of the art, for the love of healing. And somewhere in the past few years, the plot has become completely lost. So this particular situation, like I said, it all came to light in November. And this, what I'm going to talk about is really a bigger talking point that I'm going to get, deeper into. But where this started was Adrie Stoete. I think that's how you say her last name. I honestly don't know. She was a very popular sculptor and had been sculpting for decades. I think like almost 30 years or something like that. And she passed away sadly in June of 2024, so last June. And so that was really devastating. She had lots of sculpts, she was very like prolific proficient. I'm losing the word I'm trying to say there. Had a lot of sculpts, and since she had been sculpting so long, a lot of them were either like retired, or they were limited edition, and they just weren't being produced anymore for whatever reason. Some of them, they were just being produced anymore because they were older and there was not much of a demand for them. That's how many sculpts she has, because she was sculpting for so long. And so back in November, everyone was freaking out because her son was given all the business access and all the the copyrights to all of Adrie's um, kits. And so the son decided that he wanted to reopen a kit named Lizzie, and I think a few others he was thinking about reopening the edition and producing them again. Now, people were not happy because they were always told by Adri and by the listings for the kits when became available, that these kits were supposed to be limited edition, and not necessarily, she didn't necessarily say they were ever going to be produced again, and the whole idea was that they wouldn't be. So this was from Adri herself, but this was like a few years ago that she said a particular sculpt would never be produced again. Those were her own words on Facebook, that she never intended for a sculpt to be produced again that was limited edition. So the son of Adri, decided he wanted to reopen edition. And I really think that a part of the anger and confusion was, their first language, both of them, their first language is not English. I can't remember exactly where they're from, but their first language is not English. And I think there was some confusion on how he was wording things, and it made it seem like he was just reopening the first limited edition and just keep producing, quote unquote, in unlike unlimited limited edition kits, like calling them still like limited or first edition. And that's not really what he was trying to do. He was trying to do what a lot of sculptors nowadays do, where they have a very limited first edition of a Reborn kit, and then later on they'll open up a second edition of the same kit that's not always limited, or maybe limited, but usually it's not limited. It's what we refer to as an open edition, meaning that there is no set number of that Reborn kit that will be made. It's really confusing, it's really complicated, but so Reborn kits are either limited edition, there's only a set number that are going to be made, or they are first edition, where only a certain number of those edition will be made, and then they'll reopen it into a second edition, which can be open or closed. So either having a set number of that second edition or not. Um, what the son was trying to do is a second, like, open edition of these kits that were used to be limited edition. People did not like that because they felt like they were being lied to. They felt like Adrie Stoete's wishes were being disregarded by her son, because she had said that she didn't want to reopen any of her kits. And and but my whole thing about it is, we have no idea, respectfully, this is none of our business also, because she granted him access, she trusted him enough with the decision making and the business decisions, that they worked together for decades. She trusted him enough to give him, the rights to her kits. So really, honestly, is it even our business what he then does with what he now owns? You know what I mean? Like, I don't think in many other businesses would people ever say, "Oh, that thing you now own, you can't do anything with it. You can only do so much with, like, the business now that you own." He, I think, worked with his mother for like 30 years. So he worked with her from the very beginning of, I believe, when she started sculpting. And to tell this man that he can't do what he pleases within reason with his mother's kits that she gave him permission to do with, is, to me, kind of like, it's really not our business. But since people have made it their business, my point is, we have no idea what they discussed on her deathbed. We don't know what they may have discussed in those years between when she said that on Facebook, because that was not recent. It was like, I think, like 2, 3 years prior to her passing, where she said that she wouldn't um, want to reopen any of the editions of her kits. We have no idea. Things changed so much since those like years ago because of all the scammers and all the knockoffs. We have literally no idea what those two discussed in private. That is a mother and that is a son, and they are in business together, and we don't know if later on, towards the end of her life, Adri decided, um, hey, actually, I would like to reopen these kits because of what's going on in the Reborn community. Because that's the other thing I'm going to get into is why I think we've lost the plot, why I think this is kind of it's like I like not ironic, hypocritical of the community to be mad at him for reopening a edition in a legitimate way. And like it got so bad, like people were so mad at the Sun. They were sending him all these hateful messages. And if you don't believe me, there's like screenshots of these messages, these grown ass women, which I can never get over that this community is mostly, women of a adult age that should know better to how to handle these things or how to think about these complicated situations because the son, his whole thing was he was just trying to honor his mother by reopening some of her older kits that people had been searching for, and that they couldn't find because they were all like sold out. So he was trying to do a honorable thing, in my opinion, to honor his mother's sculpts and have them available for more people. What's wrong with that? Just because you paid triple or double or something for what you thought was a sold out kit doesn't mean you have to be so aggressive about you feel like you were lied to. What? Like, get over yourselves, honestly. And so I'm rambling, but so it was such a big controversy that this kit in particular, the one that he was going to start having produced again as a second edition, Lizzie is the name, I believe. Yes, Lizzie. Lizzie was going to be offered again, and two companies, I don't know if there's more of them, but two of the Reborn supply companies decided that if he produced it again, that they weren't going to carry it. And one of those was Trueborns, and one of them was Irresistibles. They both decided, we're gonna honor the last thing we knew from Adri was that she didn't want her kits produced again. So they decided as a business, both of those companies decided not to offer Lizzie if it became available as a second edition. And I think that is extremely hypocritical, especially on the behalf of Irresistibles, because Irresistibles famously offers sold out kits on their website for like 3 times the price of the original, what the kit originally cost. So most Reborn kits at this point in 2025 cost around $120 when they're first released. Irresistibles, these same dolls that were originally $120, they will list them. They'll find like someone selling one and they'll relist it on there for like $300. Like it's crazy. And if you don't believe me, I'm sure they have some listed right now because their whole like the way they kind of rationalize this reselling these secondary kits is that that's the market price for them. Well, you're being such a big hypocrite that you're saying you have the rights to make a whole bunch of money off of these kits that you had nothing to do with producing. You weren't the son of the sculptor who's getting these profits. You're just the company getting profits off of something you didn't work hard for. So it's really, really hypocritical to say, oh, you won't carry Adri's kits that are being reproduced by her son in a legitimate way, but you'll charge $300 for a kit that you had no rights or business or no involvement with other than selling it on behalf of a sculptor. You know what I mean? Like I don't know how to word that in a way that makes a lot of sense. Like it's just hypocritical profit off of a sculptor's work that you probably don't even talk to the sculptor. You know what I mean? But then get mad at a sculptor who has now passed away, her son trying to, resell her doll kits, and, even if he makes a small profit of it, what's it to you? It's her son. She probably entrusted him with the rights so that he could make money off of them because now she's gone. You know what I mean? Like, people say he's not protecting her legacy by wanting to offer these kits again. And I say it's the opposite. If he reopens these editions, people who weren't around back in like 2008 or whatever, when some of these sculpts came out, now they'll have a chance to enjoy them and paint them and really appreciate her older work. You know what I mean? Like, it's the opposite. It really is actually honoring her by reopening them. And like I said, these are my opinions about it, but I feel like people were so quick to react, and it was the people who felt like they were lied to about them being limited edition. And honestly, that's a whole nother can of worms. Like I said, like, if you feel like you need to spend triple on a doll that and then get mad that you spent that money, that's on you. No one told you to buy a doll kit that was $300 just because it was quote unquote sold out. That was all you doing that. That's your money. You wanted to do that. No one told you you had to pay that. It's you wanted to do it. So just take the loss, take the L, as the youth say, take the L, because just because you didn't think that that kit was going to be ever offered again, it doesn't mean that the people who have the copyrights have to abide by your wishes. You know what I mean? And that's true of anything, not just reborn kits that are quote unquote limited edition. Anything that collectors items. There's as long as there's a copyright to it and there's people who own that copyright, there's always going to be that chance that they're going to start reproducing it again. So, like I said, you take the loss on that if you decided to overspend on a doll kit with just because you thought it was going to be quote unquote limited edition. It's it's consumer responsibility at that point. You know what I mean? Like, I that's why for me personally, I will never be the one, because you're just making the issue worse if you pay those prices for those secondary kits like the ones at Irresistibles. You're making the market worse by actually purchasing things at that price. Like, if there was no market for it, then people wouldn't be selling these damn kits at like 400, 500, $600 that were originally only 100. It's the same thing. Like, my whole thing is this, it's the same idea concept with the knockoffs. If there wasn't a market for it, there would be no reason to produce it. So similarly, if there was no market for these secondary kits uh that were sold out to be offered, at those prices, then people would just offer them at lower prices. You know what I mean? Like, if something doesn't sell at a price, eventually those prices will be lowered. So I never paid more than $200 for a kit. And I'm going to stick with that because these prices they're just out of hand. And so, if you find yourself in the situation where you really want a kit that happens to be limited edition, honestly, it's up to you how you want to spend your money at that point. But I think you're making the issue worse if you spend $400 for a kit. I mean, I saw someone on Instagram. They were this was like literally this week. They were listing these dolls at like these blank kits at like $300, right? And get this, the kits weren't even sold out. Like, they were temporarily out of stock, and they were marketing them as sold out limited editions for like $300. And so I commented, I was like, these kits are only temporarily sold out. What are you doing? And I think they either blocked me or never responded, when I pointed out that those kits were only temporarily out of stock. But like I said, I think we've lost the plot. Like, this whole thing with Adri, she's not the first one that has, or her son is not the first one that has reopened a quote unquote limited edition sculpt. Everyone got mad at Andrea Arcello for doing that, where she reopened some of her kits, and she's still alive. So it's like, okay, how much you? Everyone keeps saying support the sculptor, but then when the sculptor wants to reopen something, it's a huge thing because everyone quote unquote feels lied to. Like it's not their own work to do with what they want. You know what I mean? Like it's literally their sculpts. It's literally their rights to their work. Um, how mad do you guys have the right to be? Like there's people who were like in droves saying that they're not going to support Andrea Arcello because she reopened some editions of her kids. Like she's some kind of scammer or something. Like it's just it makes no sense. And someone was comparing it to the knockoffs in the way that the companies were responding. Like, and to that I say, be real. Like, it's not like he's illegally reproducing them in the case of Adrie's son. Be so real. Like I saw those posts from Trueborns and Irresistibles when they were like, we will not be supporting any new editions of any Adri sculpts. I had the biggest eye roll of my life because they're not knockoffs. So what do you mean you don't want to support her son in furthering his mother's legacy? I mean, I had the hugest eye roll. I was like, you're misunderstanding what he's trying to do for one, and you're taking the reactionary response that the community's having to him reopening them, and you're not doing like the critical business decision thinking of what is he actually trying to do before you're making that long post of, oh, I will not respect this because the last thing we saw was that Adri didn't want to reopen them. So anyway, I just wanted to circle around back to that and like just think about what we're trying to really do in this community. Are we really the type of community, quote unquote, that gets mad at a grieving son for wanting to do what he can to, help with the knockoffs because, they're reproducing his mother's sculpts as well. And the ones that they're reproducing are the ones that are closed editions. Imagine that. So, are we really the type of community that gets all of it? Like, I mean, there were so many messages that were being sent to this man, hateful, distasteful, like his mother hadn't just passed away a few months prior. Um, and all he was trying to do was honor his mother's legacy in a way that he thought would benefit both us as Reborn collectors and community members, and in a way that sure probably would make him a little bit of money, but it's really not that lucrative as many people think. To produce Reborn sculpts, I don't know why people think he was going to make a crap ton of money off of his mother's sculpts. I don't know. That's another thing to discuss, but yeah. So just I think we lost the plot somewhere in the past few years. I think over the pandemic, like things went way south, especially when the knockoffs began making their way into the community. It's like everyone lost their plot, lost their mind when that started happening, and it's become even more crazy, divisive, chaotic since then. And some of it is absolutely warranted. Like I don't give a hell. I don't care who you are. If you're one of those people who supports and buys willingly and knowingly buys knockoffs, I don't want you anywhere around me. I don't care how close we were prior. But stuff like that, you know what I mean? That's to me, I don't see that as decisive. That to me seems like someone who's just supporting the legality of this art form that I love, and I'm protecting what things that are destroying it, which are the knockoffs. So like I said, I'm rambling a little bit because it is such a weird situation that and reaction that they had to Adri's son, um, that I just didn't know really even where to begin with why I thought all of this was kind of wrong. So hopefully I got my point across in some way, somehow, in some frame, that I personally would buy one of the the dolls, the kits that he's reopening, if he is still doing that. I don't know. He might have gotten so much hate that he decided not to reopen them. I haven't checked if they became available again, but I personally would absolutely um, be buying, or if someone asked me to, like for a custom, I would absolutely purchase one of these kits that are being reopened um, for production because it's being done in a legitimate way. Like whether people like it or not, he has the legitimate rights to do so. So I guess that's my whole point. It's My whole point is you could argue the morality of him reopening them all you want until you're blue in the face, but honestly, you have no idea what they discussed. You just don't. You have no idea what she was saying because timing wise, to me, it would have happened all. It all happened too quickly. Him being able to produce them again for them to have not priorly discussed it because he was talking about this in November when she had died in June, and sometimes a lot of times it takes like several months to start producing reborn kits. So to me, it sounds like they had already been talking about this for him to start their production on those. But again, I think too logically about things, and people aren't thinking like that. But anyway, so I think that's all I have to say about secondary kits and reopening closed editions, um, because it is their right to do so. And yeah, I don't have a problem with it, and I think it's ridiculous to have a problem with it if it's being done in a legal way. Anyway, that's all I've got for y'all today. I was long-winded and um, whatever, but I will see you guys soon, and be on the lookout for the twins that I will have posted hopefully by next week. Fingers crossed that it doesn't take forever for me to root them. Oh. All right, see you guys next time.